Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous, enduring legends in all of human history, the 480 BCE Battle of Thermopylae. Now, if you've ever seen a certain blockbuster movie or read a comic book about this epic clash, you probably have a very specific, highly dramatized image in your head. But today, we're going to separate the pop culture fiction from the historical fact. We'll unpack the real strategic brilliance behind the legend, and honestly, the true story is way more fascinating than the myth.
So, let's kick things off with the big question, the one that Hollywood always answers with a resounding yes. Did 300 men really stand entirely alone against a massive, unstoppable empire? I mean, it's a fantastic story, right? The ultimate underdog narrative of an isolated squad taking on the world. But as we dig into the historical sources, we'll see that history, well, it's rarely ever that simple.
The pop culture myth we all know and love tells us that 300 Spartans stood completely isolated against millions of invaders. But the historical reality absolutely shatters that legend. Actually, scratch the whole lone wolf idea. King Leonidas of Sparta wasn't on a solo mission with a tiny squad. His desperate effort to stall King Xerxes' massive Persian invasion relied on a highly complex strategic maneuver involving thousands of Greek allies. The Spartans were for sure the elite spearhead, but they were just one part of a much larger, coordinated coalition trying to save their homeland.
Section 1. Strategy at the Narrow Pass.
King Leonidas was a master tactician, and he knew that facing the vast Persian army on an open battlefield would literally be suicide. Looking at the geography, the Pass of Thermopylae was the only location where the Persians' overwhelming numerical superiority could be neutralized. By deliberately funneling that massive invasion force into a tight, unforgiving bottleneck between the mountains and the sea, the Greeks could strip away the enemy's biggest advantage, their sheer numbers. It was a lot like trying to force a raging flood through a tiny garden hose.
And to make this bottleneck strategy actually work, they relied heavily on Greek hoplites. If you're not familiar, a hoplite was heavy infantry, utilizing superior tactics specifically designed to absolutely dominate in close-quarters combat. The Persians might have had a vast, sprawling army, but in a tight, narrow squeeze, the heavy armor, massive shields, and specialized training of the Greek hoplites were going to be the deciding factors.
They maximized that advantage with a formation called the phalanx. Picture this, a densely packed formation of these heavily armored hoplites, locking their shields together to create an impenetrable wall of bronze and wood, just bristling with spears. For 2 full days, the Greeks used this exact formation to hold the pass. And because of this brilliant tactic, they turned that narrow corridor into a claustrophobic nightmare for the Persian forces. All those endless Persian numbers basically meant nothing when they were violently crashing against an unbreakable wall in a space way too small to maneuver. Section 2. Betrayal and the Secret Path. Now, for the first 2 days, that Greek phalanx successfully held the pass, repelling wave after wave of attackers exactly as planned. But on the night of day 2, the situation took a really dark turn. A local Greek resident named Ephialtes betrayed the defenders. He went and revealed a secret mountain path to the Persians, allowing them to bypass the choke point entirely. So, by day 3, this treason allowed the Persian forces to sweep around and outflank the Greek position. That brilliant bottleneck strategy was broken, not by superior military might, mind you, but by a treacherous local betrayal.
Section 3. A victory in defeat.
Realizing their position was completely outflanked and essentially lost, Leonidas had to make a decision that would echo through history. To save his allied forces from total annihilation, he executed a coldly calculated retreat. He knew the fatal outflanking maneuver meant the pass was inevitably going to fall, and he chose not to lose his entire coalition in a pointless slaughter. Instead, he ordered the bulk of the Greek army to fall back and fight another day, while a small, doomed rear guard remained behind to cover that vital retreat. It was the ultimate tactical sacrifice, designed specifically to ensure the larger war effort could survive.
And this is where that only Spartans myth completely falls apart. Look at the numbers here. Yes, the legendary 300 Spartans stayed behind, but they were not alone in their sacrifice. Several hundred brave Thespians and several hundred Thebans consciously chose to stay right alongside those 300 Spartans. History often forgets them, but they all knew it was a suicide mission. Yet they stood shoulder to shoulder, fighting to the literal last man to protect their retreating brothers in arms.
You see, their sacrifice wasn't just some simple military defeat. It was an absolute masterclass in tactical delay.
Their desperate final stand bought crucial, necessary time for the remaining Greek city-states to rally their defenses. And that time was absolutely everything. It directly laid the groundwork for the decisive Greek victories at the naval battle of Salamis and the land battle of Plataea later on. They may have lost the battle at Thermopylae, but their calculated sacrifice effectively saved the entire war.
This is exactly why this matters, and why we're still talking about it thousands of years later. Thermopylae transformed a devastating military defeat into a powerful, symbolic victory of liberty over tyranny. It became the ultimate, enduring symbol of military discipline. It represents the profound willingness of a few individuals to lay down their lives so that their society and their entire way of life might survive against overwhelming darkness.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, striking question to think about regarding the enduring legacy of standing against impossible odds. When the very survival of a society is at stake, what are the few willing to sacrifice for the many? It's a question that defined the unsung heroes and the legendary warriors of Thermopylae. And honestly, it's a question that continues to resonate powerfully through human history.